So, welcome to another episode of Clarity TV, where we have conversations with entrepreneurs and authors and speakers, and we just ask about their journey and were they always exactly clear of what they were doing, or were they just moving forward and sometimes figuring it out as they went along. And today we have a great guest, which I am so excited to get to know better. Her name is Dr. Sherry Welling. It's not part of the bio as she wrote it in the questionnaire, but she's a mom just like me. And she's a clinical psychologist. She's a speaker, a yoga teacher. She's a podcaster. She and her husband have a great, very popular and well-renowned podcast. And she's also an entrepreneur and a best-selling author. Welcome, Sherry. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
So let's start with this question. Tell me about a moment in your life that became kind of a before and after. It could have been an experience or an accomplishment or something that happened, whether it was to you or for you, that there was a before and after.
Oh my goodness, there are so many moments that I could point to. But one of them that might be of interest to your audience is that I trained to be an academic psychologist. So I trained in research at places like Yale School of Medicine and Boston University School of Medicine, these very elite places, so that I could, get grants and write papers and be someone who's contributing to the academic conversation. And I was all in on that. I was good enough at it to have people say you should, follow this path. But as I got into academia, really after I had my second child, I was just increasingly unhappy. And so I realized that, I was sort of the world's youngest retired professor. I left a tenure track job after 3 years, which is pretty unusual in that world when you go to school for 15 years to do this thing and then to decide, I don't really like this thing. It's not the right fit for me. And so that became a before and after moment for me in lots of ways, because it really made me start listening to myself and my own joy and my own pain and my own sense of like, this is really what it is for me to build a good life and to contribute meaningfully in a professional way. And it's different than I thought it would be. And it's different than it is for other people who have maybe similar training and similar experience. So I think that's the before and after moment of like walking away from on the outside to be so desirable, but to sort of follow my own best life, my own intuition, my own needs.
And I will come back because I have a lot of questions about it, but I think you're just tying us perfectly well to the question that I want to ask, which is, what is something about you that has been kind of a common denominator in your life? What I mean by that is whether it's a trait, whether it's a way of being, whether it's something about you that you now, looking back, you realize that in every one of these, any of the moments you could have, told us about today, that there was this part of you having a role in there.
One of the factors, some call.
Hold on, I'm gonna have you repeat because we had a little bit of a glitch there. So tell about the common denominator.
Yeah. So in personality psychology, we have one of these models of, human personality. It's called the Big Sigh Factor. And it these sort of 5 indices of personality. One of them is openness to new experience. And every time I take a personality test, or I took a lot of them in graduate school as my colleagues and I were learning how to do personality tests, I am like at the far end of the spectrum in openness to new experience. And I didn't really fully grasp what that meant for me. But as I look back in my life, when I was 12, I was a kid who was like climbing the high tree next to the lake to jump off into the water and sort of pushing the boundaries and asking the questions and being a little bit of a like benign rebel, like a little bit of a disruptor, because I just wanted to see what was next. And I kind of wish I'd embraced that a little bit in my like 20s and 30s, because, you know, I'm 40 now, and I realize that this is just a really core part of who I am, that I am someone who's really seeking a lot of new and varied experiences, which I now honor and respect. But I think if I'd really understood that earlier, I probably wouldn't have gone a very traditional academic research track, because that's not a good fit for them, generally speaking. But my life as an entrepreneur is much more conducive to me kind of bobbing and weaving and creatively integrating different kinds of activities and experiences. It's a much more sort of dynamic model of how to do life, or professional life, that's such a better fit. I wish I'd figured it out earlier. I'm glad I did finally now by 40.
Well, so this is fascinating to me, and I love where this conversation is going, because you can bring the academic perspective and the more medical perspective to something that in coaching, I'm a life coach, we would explore values, right? And here's actually something that is very interesting to me, because when I went to school, so I'm an entrepreneur, I've built different businesses. And at some point I was bored with all of them, and I was 38, and I said, what is wrong with me? I have 4 kids, multiple businesses, like what else, right?
I did everything.
Yeah.
But yet I'm bored.
And so I went back to school for coaching, and we were, you know, when you do this kind of work, as you just said, when you were studying personality tests, you were taking them as well, right? In coaching, you're doing the work and learning the work. And I was kind of doing a personal exploration on my values and my top 5 values, and what happened when I was either honoring them or not honoring them. Mm-hmm. What I found then was that adventure was one of my top 5 values.
Yep.
And that as a mother of 4 with 4 children under the age of 10, you could say it was an adventure, but I didn't feel that way. It felt more like...
It's like an adventure to the growth, which is not like a super stimulating kind of adventure.
Exactly.
It's more just challenging.
And so here's where I'm fascinated, because you're talking about a personality trait, one of the 5 personality traits that is open to new experiences. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about it from the value perspective, meaning this is something that I value, and that if I don't have, which in that time, maybe I wasn't honoring it, let's put it that way, and it was having a consequence. So what we're saying is that if you don't know, or you know your personality traits and you're not honoring them, mm-hmm. or it is a value and you're not honoring them, it's going to affect your life, probably not in a positive way. So can you talk more about that?
I think, you know, the word that comes to me as we talk about this is alignment. You know, it's sort of a popular word, I think, in our business. But it's the question of like, how well does your life, the day-to-day details of your life, truly match who you are? And the parts of you that are not really changeable. So when we're talking about personality traits, there's some ebb and flow over the course of our lives, but generally speaking, we're kind of the same kind of person. Same with values. There's some ebb and flow over the course of our lives, depending on our life situation, our developmental sort of period in adulthood. But generally speaking, we value similar kinds of things. But it's so easy, I think, for situations in our environment, for those things to kind of shift us and push us a little bit away from, you know, who we maybe truly are. And that misalignment from a psychological perspective breeds all kinds of angst and trouble. That's where we find ourselves shooting, pushing, cajoling, forcing ourselves into, you know, things that aren't really right for us. And nobody really wants to live like that. But I think there's a lot of messages around us that say like, you know, buck up, buttercup, like just get it done. Or, you know, you should be the kind of mom who wants to like do everything at the school and bake all of the brownies. And that's what being a good mom means. So get in the kitchen and get it done. And it's like, I hate that stuff. Like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So
I love this, because now we're going to change into more the work that you're doing right now, Sherry. But it is about taking the time to know ourselves, which most of us don't do until something really goes wrong. And it's like, okay, wait, what do I want, right? I think for most people, and including myself at one point, just the question, what do you want, can really bring you anxiety because we don't know. So let me ask you this. Let's talk about your work. What impact do you want to have? And let me ask you, what is the idea behind the work that you're doing now after you've come out of academia, into the real world, into entrepreneurship? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time working one-on-one with business owners and entrepreneurs. And my work kind of falls under a couple different categories. I talk about it as mental health work for entrepreneurs. I think the people that I work with probably don't think of it as mental health work as much as like helping them stay sane or like finding courage, helping them navigate difficult choices, helping them with relational challenges. I'm married to an entrepreneur. We've been married for 20 years. I am an entrepreneur myself, and I think I have this deep empathy for the challenges that go along when you have created a business that is you. It's part of you, and it's an extension of you, but yet it's separate than you. And there's a lot of kind of inner emotional, psychological challenges that can go along with that course of life. So my job is to really help people be as healthy as they can, knowing that there's a lot of sort of ups and downs in the life of an entrepreneur. And then when bad things happen, and they do sometimes, people get really burnt out, depression happens, anxiety happens in the life of many, many entrepreneurs. Sometimes you lose a key team member. Sometimes your business goes through this major, major transition that's outside your control. Part of my job is to help people kind of reconstruct, put themselves back together when maybe their businesses fall apart, or put themselves back together when their business has gotten so phenomenally successful it's sort of exceeded their capacity as a leader. There's all kinds of ways where we go up and down on the roller coaster.
The business went to college, right? Like our kids.
Yes, totally. We have empty nest syndrome over the business.
Yes, it's a thing. It's interesting, Sherry. Why entrepreneurs? I mean, I always believe that as service providers, we kind of have the luxury to say, who do I want to be if there's only one kind of people that I want, that I can help with my life work, right? Who do I choose? And so why did you choose entrepreneurs?
Honest, a moment. That's who's been in my living room most of my Also, like, I have one kid who's not a traditionally wired child, and he is not going to make it in a cubicle. He's not going to make it in a corporate environment. He, like many entrepreneurs that I know, is just sort of wired differently for the world. And I think his success is going to depend a little bit on him being able to carve out his own way. So entrepreneurs also many of them share my trait for openness to new experience. They're risk takers. They're people that color outside the lines. And the more that I sort of am true to who I am and how, like, my own quest to be healthy and honor my need for adventure and new experiences, the more I feel like I'm able to support people who are in some ways similarly minded, facing similar challenges, who are trying to make their impact in the world too. So I didn't wake up one day and was like, entrepreneurs. It's more like, who do I know? Who do I care about? What particular insights or resources do I have available to me that might be of service to the people that I am in the same proximity to? So that's how it happened for me.
I thank you for the honest answer. And the reason why I want to celebrate that is because in this space of entrepreneurship, a lot of people, especially people who are listening, are typically shooting themselves all day long.
Don't shit on yourself.
I should be working with this kind of people. I should be earning this much money. I should be doing all this marketing stuff that I hate doing. And the truth is that in this journey, I mean, and I think in this conversation in particular, I think you said it beautifully, I believe that the two things that work the most for an entrepreneur or the entrepreneurial journey is alignment, and then seeing what's in front of you and say,
Yep.
how can you serve at your top capacity today with the knowledge and experience that you have today, and who's around you that is ready to be served?
Proximity. Who's available?
Who's available, and whether, and I know your husband is also very successful in his way. Like it doesn't mean that you need to have a successful network to start. Whoever is in front of you is ready to be served by you, and so I love that you share that. So let me ask you this: what are you most excited in your work or your life in the coming year?
In the coming year, let's see. I don't have a great answer to that. Not because I'm not ambitious or have plans, but I think maybe part of that openness to new experience thing is like I just don't know, in a way that is very exciting to me. I'm just excited to see it unfold. I'd have my oldest son just turned 13. I don't know what kind of he's going to be. I'm terrified and excited. Yeah. My practice is sort of skyrocketing right now. It's busy. So I brought in some help and we're sort of growing. I don't know if that's going to be fabulous or a total mess. I'm not sure yet. So I'm hopeful for travel and adventure and growth and good connection and, things that are a little bit more within my control, but it's not one thing. I'm not sort of a goal person in terms of like, this is the one thing that I want to do. I just want to show up in the best possible way with all of the balls that are sort of flying around me and try to juggle well and be present and laugh a lot.
Awesome. Let me ask you a question. We are building the Clarity TV library. So what is one book that our listeners should read? Well, no, we don't like the word should. One book that
are invited
you will invite our listeners to explore.
Maybe someone has mentioned this already, but if not, Let Your Life Speak by Parker Palmer is a lovely little meditation on vocation, on how you sort of end up doing what it is that you do.
I've never heard of that
little book. Oh, it's a favorite. And then a little bit of a different flavor, but The Gift of an Ordinary Day by Katrina Kennison is another really lovely one, especially for those of us who are parenting and trying to like do our lives alongside the challenge of like facilitating other people's lives. So.
Yeah, and that we don't see sometimes the adventure in the diapers on, multiple children at the same time.
For sure.
I know you are an author as well. Where can people find your book, and where can people find more about you and learn more about you?
Yeah, so my book is on Amazon and Audible and Kindle and all those places. It's called The Entrepreneur's Guide to Keeping Your Shit Together, How to Run Your Business Without Letting It Run You. That same 13-year-old came up with the title, so I'm both like terrified and proud. And then I have a podcast that, is free. It's called Zen Founder, and it lives on the internet. It Apple and Spotify and all the places that podcasts live, but also at zenfounder.com. And then finally, I have sherrywalling.com as well, which has a little bit more information about my background and some of the speaking work that I do, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. So make sure you check out sherrywalling.com and zenfounder.com and find about her book. I'm actually going to order the book myself and check it out. But any last words, Sherry?
I think it's so hard when you're in the middle of a challenge to really like relax and breathe into it and be confident that it will be okay. Mm-hmm. But I think that's one of the things that we're always certain about, is that however it feels right now, it's not going to feel that way in an hour, in a day, in a month. And so the superpower of just sort of like steadily waiting it out is sometimes really understated, especially in the entrepreneurial world, where I think there's a lot of pressure to hustle and try the new thing and get the new course and, you know, get the new mastermind and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, sometimes just sit down.
Just let it out.
Wait it out a bit.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Less
I love
is
it.
more.
Yeah, I love it. I think what I think I love what you're saying, because ultimately I believe, and it sounds like you believe too, that ultimately the right decision, the right answer is always an inside job.
Yeah.
And that if they can kind of pause and listen in, everything will be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And guys, check out zenfounder.com and sherrywalling.com. And I look forward to seeing you around and making your magic, doing your magic out into the world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dolores. What a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you.